My mother-in-law tricked my unconscious husband into signing away our house. That was the story she proudly repeated to every relative who came through her front door. The same front door she believed she now owned. I stood in the middle of the living room holding a hospital discharge folder, listening while she smiled over a slice of pie and told everyone, everything is finally where it belongs. She thought I was too exhausted to understand what she'd done. She didn't know the county records had already shown me something she never expected. My name was the only one on the deed. I didn't say a word that afternoon. Silence had become familiar after Ethan's accident. 3 weeks earlier, a delivery truck had run a red light outside Columbus. Ethan survived, but the concussion left him unconscious for several days. Tubes, machines, the endless beeping that blended into the late-night television in the waiting room. I remembered staring at a sitcom that nobody was actually watching while my coffee turned cold in my hands. Carol, my mother-in-law, arrived every morning carrying flowers nobody asked for and advice nobody wanted. You should go home and sleep, she'd tell me. I'll handle everything. I believed her. At least, I wanted to. The first strange feeling came when I returned to our suburban house after Ethan woke up. Carol was already inside. She'd somehow made copies of our keys. She stood in the kitchen reorganizing cabinets. I've decided to stay here a while, she announced without asking. Then came my brother-in-law Scott. Then Scott's wife. Then their college-aged son. Within 4 days our quiet home sounded like Thanksgiving every evening. They spoke about renovations, replacing furniture, repainting bedrooms, as though Ethan and I were temporary guests. Whenever I questioned it, Carol smiled. Family shares. That smile. It reminded me of the way she used to volunteer to keep track of holiday expenses, then somehow everyone else ended up paying more. One evening I came downstairs around 3 a.m. for water. The refrigerator light spilled across the hardwood floor while the entire house remained silent. My thoughts wouldn't settle. I noticed a stack of papers lying beside Carol's oversized purse. One page carried Ethan's signature. Or something that looked like it. The date matched the second day after his surgery, while he was still heavily sedated. My stomach tightened. The next morning Carol caught me looking at it. Oh, that's just paperwork Ethan signed, she said casually. He wanted to make sure the house stayed in responsible hands if anything happened. Responsible hands. Those words stayed with me all day. After driving Ethan to physical therapy, I stopped at the county recorder's office instead of going home. I simply wanted answers. The clerk searched the property records. Then she frowned. You're listed as sole owner. I blinked. I'm sorry, what? She turned the monitor toward me. My name. Only mine. Recorded 5 years earlier. I remembered the closing day. Ethan had missed the appointment because of an emergency board meeting with the manufacturing company where he worked. We'd agreed I'd finish the paperwork alone. The mortgage listed both of us. But the deed. Only me. Our attorney had apparently prepared ownership that way because my grandmother's inheritance had funded the down payment. We intended to update it after refinancing someday. We never did. I sat in my car afterwards staring through the windshield. Carol had forged paperwork transferring something Ethan didn't legally own. She couldn't transfer my property. She'd forged documents for nothing. I contacted a real estate attorney named Melissa Grant before telling anyone. Melissa requested copies of everything. Within days she uncovered more. The signature on the transfer authorization had obvious hesitation marks. Ethan's genuine signatures flowed naturally. This one stopped and started repeatedly. Hospital records showed he had received medication affecting cognition during the exact hour the document claimed he'd signed willingly. The notary listed on the papers admitted she had never entered Ethan's hospital room. Someone else had brought her the signature afterward. Melissa leaned back in her chair. They committed fraud against the county. My hands trembled. Can they actually lose everything? They're about to discover actions have consequences. We filed reports with law enforcement and challenged every fraudulent filing. Carol still behaved as though she'd won. She ordered new curtains. Scott measured rooms for an entertainment system. His wife suggested converting my home office into a guest suite. One Saturday I overheard Carol laughing with neighbors while Little League games echoed from the nearby park. My son finally understood who should control family assets, she boasted. He believed every word. 2 weeks later, a process server walked up our driveway. Then another. Then another. Carol accepted the envelopes confidently. Until she opened them. Eviction notices. Each family member received one. Scott read his twice. His wife looked at me as though I'd spoken another language. Carol stormed into the kitchen waving the papers. You can't throw us out. I quietly placed certified copies of the deed beside her coffee mug. I don't have to throw anyone out, I replied. The law already says you don't live here. Her face drained of color. She grabbed the forged transfer papers. They're signed. They're worthless. Ethan agreed. Ethan never owned the house. For several seconds nobody spoke. Even the refrigerator seemed louder than usual. Ethan slowly walked into the room using the cane he'd recently begun leaving behind. He looked at the deed. Then at his mother. You forged my signature? Carol opened her mouth. Nothing came out. Scott backed toward the hallway without saying a word. Within the month, investigators interviewed everyone involved. The fraudulent filing was cancelled. The notary lost her commission. Criminal charges followed for document fraud and attempted property theft. Carol's attorney eventually negotiated a plea arrangement rather than risking trial. The day they finally moved out, I watched their vehicles disappear one after another down our quiet street. The silence that followed felt unfamiliar. Peaceful. That night Ethan fell asleep early. I wandered into the kitchen around 3 a.m. again. Out of habit. The refrigerator light spread across the floor exactly as it had weeks before. Only this time my breathing felt steady. No whispered arguments upstairs. No strangers calling my home theirs. Just the soft hum of the refrigerator and the distant glow from the neighborhood where porch lights still burned. I poured myself coffee even though dawn was only an hour away. The first orange streaks appeared above the rooftops. Ethan joined me on the back patio wrapped in a blanket. I'm sorry, he whispered. I reached for his hand. This house was never what they wanted, I said quietly. Control was. He nodded. For years I'd mistaken keeping the peace for protecting my family. Standing there as the morning sun climbed over our suburban street, I finally understood something that couldn't be forged, transferred, or stolen. A home isn't secured by signatures. It's protected by the person willing to stand up when everyone else expects her to surrender. As sunlight filled every room Carol once claimed belonged to her, I unlocked every window, opened every curtain, and breathed deeply for what felt like the first time since Ethan's accident. The house hadn't changed. I had. And that, more than any deed recorded at the county courthouse, became the beginning of the life I was finally ready to live. If this story touched your heart and reminded you that truth and courage can overcome even the deepest betrayal, please like this video, leave a comment sharing your thoughts, and subscribe for more powerful family stories. Thank you so much for watching until the very end. Your support, kindness, and every single view truly mean the world to us.